sponsored, motherfuckers. We're not sponsored.
He's like, anything's getting put behind. That's my own though,
Okay,
and then
yeah.
this was a gift. Man, I'm looking forward to chatting with you today, Hani.
Likewise,
this will
man.
be exciting.
Thanks for having me. I was always looking forward to coming here and chatting with you and
Awesome.
checking your space.
Yeah, it's a unique vibe for sure, but I does what it needs to do when I need it to do it, you know.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm always like the handful of times you chatted with you. I chatted with you. I've always enjoyed, and I know, man, I've been seeing you like you work very hard. You work late. You work early. Like I see you just always being busy and doing things, coming up, going everywhere. So I'm yeah, man, I'm very excited to talk to this. So yeah, thanks for coming on the show today, brother.
Well, thank you for having me. Pleasure of mine.
Right on. So let's kind of kick it off then with taking through your transition, like grade 11, 12, leaving high school, and then we can kind of go through everything from there.
Grade 11 and 12. So my story started, I grew up in Jordan, up till grade 11, 12.
Yeah.
That's when I started applying for universities in Canada, in the US, in England, even in Australia. England was the best option since it was the closest relatively to Jordan.
Right.
But then Canada was a nicer option because I was getting more scholarships, I was getting more options here.
Sick.
So that's why I chose Canada. So the option was between the East Coast or West Coast, between like Vancouver or Toronto. I should have went Vancouver. Came to Toronto. I still wouldn't change it. But that shift was a huge like mentality change from like living with your parents, everything is taken care for, to like, hey, like you need your breakfast done, you need like your laundry done, and you're like, holy shit, this life I'm not used to. Like, so that life when I started university, when you're like 40 hours of classes and then you have to go study and then you're training and then you have to take care of your food, sleep, everything else.
Yeah.
Even the small stuff like cleaning around the house, that adds up to during the week. And if you don't do it, you're like, your day's like all over the place.
Yeah, man. It gets like, especially if you don't tackle all that stuff as soon as you can, it kind of builds up. You're like, why am I stressed or anxious for nothing? It's like, oh, my room's a mess. Dishes aren't done. Why does it smell bad? Is that me? No. It's maybe. Interesting.
So that lifestyle between like university, school, like coming back to training, I got used to that system. I'm like, okay, I'm on the run all the time. Like, let's go.
Nice.
And that's when like I was competing more often. I was training more seriously.
Yeah.
Everything was balanced. Like,
so I know, but training what?
Jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. That's when I started. Like, I was training before horseback riding. Yeah. And then when I came here, first couple of years was a gap. Like, I didn't know what I'm gonna do. No training. Yeah, I'm lifting weights, but
I want more.
It didn't feel like I'm grabbing something. Like,
I get you. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm maintaining.
Yeah.
And slowly, like, and then I met this guy, and he's like 120 Russian guy, and we were in the lab in university, and he was taking everybody down. I'm like, dude, how are you fucking doing it?
Yeah.
And he was like showing me Kimura. I'm like, dude, you're making this shit up.
Yeah, where's this coming from?
Where, like, how are you coming with this? And he's like, yeah, come to a gym. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna come with you. I'm gonna see what they're teaching you. That was the first.
You're hooked.
I'm hooked.
I love it.
I'm hooked. Yeah. So yeah, that was the good balance in university.
Nice. What was that first like day of what was that first day of jiu-jitsu like? Because you're what, like 20 at that time?
19, 20.
Yeah. Okay.
Like it's definitely scary.
Yeah.
And that feeling doesn't go away. You just get used to it.
I see. Yeah.
So like even when I go to a new city and I go to their gym, I get that feeling. Now it's normal.
Right.
You get used to it.
Yeah.
But when you do it so often, it doesn't become like, oh, I am gonna go do this and I'm gonna have that feeling.
Right.
It's gonna be like, oh, that's no. I'm expecting that feeling to come in.
I see. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, when I'm gonna go there, that feeling is gonna come in, and that's okay.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. Nice. Okay. So then kind of, what'd you decide to do? Like, what was your, like, did it matter? I guess my question is, did it matter more what you were going to study in Canada, or did it matter more just getting to a certain, like, just getting here? At that time.
At that time, just coming here,
Yeah.
just getting an offer.
I see. Yeah.
But back in 2007, applying here, you need enough credits. So I
Uh,
couldn't apply for like a bachelor of administration.
right.
It needed to be like something worth. I think they called it like a scoring system. They had a scoring system,
Oh yeah. Okay.
and each like education level had a different scoring system. So I was
Mm.
either have to be an engineer or like a pharmacist or like a dentist or like one of those
Oh,
to
okay.
get to be able to get my PR after and like
I
to
see.
be.
Yeah.
So it was like okay, either engineering,
Yeah.
but what kind of engineering I'm gonna do?
Yeah. There's a lot.
Definitely not a doctor. So engineering was one of my top, either mechanical or like
Yeah.
electrical.
Yeah. And that's what you ended up
That's what I ended
opting
up.
for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice. So when you kind of had that decision made, and you're like, okay, yeah, I'll just, like you met the tier. It sounded more like it was to, correct me if I'm wrong. Like it was just get here, and then it's kind of okay. The last decision was to decide, like, okay, we'll do electrical engineering when we get here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think like I was in between options. I'm like
Yeah.
either my top choice is gonna be electrical or mechanical, electrical, and then computer.
Right.
So I'm one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, in that time, what was like the aspiration? Was the aspiration a lot of like, oh, I want to kind of see where this goes, or did you always like know you wanted to do something kind of adjacent to it, or not quite, or more in real estate? I guess is what I'm asking.
It's funny you're asking this question, and I kind of predicted it's gonna come, because whenever you're doing something,
Yeah.
you're not sure if you're doing it in the right direction,
I see. Yeah.
and what am I gonna get out of it?
For sure.
It doesn't make sense. The dots do not connect
Yeah.
till you're finished the dots. So like till you look back, that's when the dots connect.
Right.
So since I joined engineering because I really enjoyed problem solving.
Yeah.
I want to have a solution. Like I'll see something broken, I'm like, how can I fix it?
Yeah.
If I see something working, I'll break it. I'm like, how can I put it back together?
I love it. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, like I really enjoy this. I don't enjoy like my artistic side of the brain is like dead.
Yeah.
Doesn't work. So that's where like, okay, I need something where like
Yeah.
I'm problem solving. I'm like working on problems, creating new stuff. How can we improve this?
Yeah.
Engineering teaches you that. Teaches
Yeah.
you the principles of that. Why is this possible? Why is that not possible? Like the principles of physics, principles of mathematics, statistics, and all that.
Nice. Yeah.
But when you take that into real life in engineering, it doesn't like translate the same thing.
Oh no.
No, it does. It's not the same thing.
Right. So the study is different, but the
Completely different.
application in real life is different.
So I did a couple of years of engineering at the beginning, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm not solving problems. I'm just like
Yeah.
saving the day.
Yeah.
Like you're just surviving. And that's when like my work was more focused on installing like control systems and gathering this input. So
Exhilarating.
Like, hey, put a sensor on this like
Yeah.
water pipe. Put this on that system.
I see. Yeah.
Put it-
Important, but
Important if you can make sense of it.
I see you. Yeah. Okay.
Because at one point you get so much data, you're like, okay, what does this mean to me?
Yeah.
What can I do with it? So like, okay, I don't know what you can do with it, but let's look at one number.
Yeah.
Why do you have a low percentage of closing, or why do you have a high percentage of change orders, for example? Let's review the initial budget. Okay, what number can we go after to minimize our like back and forth?
Yeah.
And that's how I got into like data analysis and reporting.
Cool.
And through that time, I gained some experience in like retail, healthcare, fintech,
Yeah.
and that's the experience I'm bringing back to like the business I'm working on.
I see you. Interesting. So when you were kind of in that phase of like you had just graduated, right? Engineering, you just kind of decided how all that works, and then you kind of like, okay, like I don't like quite see I don't have this like ambition for this, right? Or maybe it just ran its course because it isn't. I find too, a lot of university programs are like that where they're very much different than what we're studying. It's like we get into this, at least for me, it's like we get into certain things because we're interested in learning about it, right? And then once we get out of it, we realize it's not at all like that, what we were kind of shown. It's like, hey, take everything and figure it out, and there's a big gap between the graduation part and then the actual application in real life, which sounds like it's similar.
100%. And
Yeah.
I'll give you like example, like
Amazing, yeah, please.
when we were in university, like University of Toronto is like the top 10 in the world. you'd expect they're teaching you some
Yeah.
like, secret shit.
You would hope, right?
The programming language we were taught
Yeah.
was based on the 70s. So like
Brutal.
exactly to what you were saying. When you're going to university, they're teaching you stuff from the 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
They made sure it works. This is what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna write in books. The book get printed. 2 years later, they gets distributed.
Yeah.
So you're learning something that was relevant 10 years ago, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go to the field, you're like, holy shit! I learned how the circuit works.
Yeah.
But how does the panel connect to the fuse to the. And you're like, why didn't they teach us that?
Yeah.
Because they needed 2 years to write the book and then 2 years to do research.
And the standards change every year or every couple of years,
Every
right?
month.
But yeah, literally. And then standards change so frequently, but then looking back, it's like, well, the material we learned is outdated. So it's like we're working backwards because I was like, we always have to be learning new things, but we're always playing catch up.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm like, okay, I learned a lot in the university.
Yeah.
It's almost you're testing the RPM. You
I
put an
see,
engine into an RPM.
Yeah.
You're like, can this engine handle 10,000 RPMs?
Right.
Can this handle 11,000?
Yeah.
Okay. The norm was like 3, 4. These kids can handle 10 or 11.
Right.
What do you do with that 10, 11? Is the life after university.
I see you. Yeah.
So you have to carry that. That's on your responsibility to always put 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour. And that's compounding effect is so relevant when you're in your 20s.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Because if you assume you put 1 hour a day
Yeah.
on top of your peers or your colleagues or whoever you're in your age group,
Right.
every year you're getting about 15 to 20 days on top.
Yeah.
So
Incredible.
if you put 2 days, every year you get an extra month on top of everybody else.
Yeah, and in 5 years, it's an extra like almost a year.
Almost a year.
You're like, what? Yeah.
So
compounds.
that compounding effect,
Yeah.
the earlier you are, that's why I encourage like people in their 20s, 30s, you don't need to rest. Like if I ever hear you tired or want to rest or I want to take a break, like
I love it.
get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah, I love it.
Because you shouldn't be tired. You shouldn't
No.
be worried about anything. You should be like a work machine.
Yeah.
And there's no excuse for it. Like
No, you're right. Yeah. It's man, it's funny. It's kind of I was telling this about to a friend of mine, Devin, a couple weeks ago. A lot of people I know, not a lot, but a handful. Anybody who complains about money but won't do like extra, right? Or they spend it on nonsense. Both kind of irk me a little bit where I'm like, oh, hey, I got this. Do you want to come help me do like paint or you want to help me like put up drywall or like fix it? I got extra hours here if you want. Nah, I'm pretty tired from what.
tired.
you talking
Hello, I
about?
can't hear you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
From what?
Yeah.
I'm like, the best part is that we have the energy when you're younger, right? The whole idea is like when you get older, you have that experience. I get it. But when you're to your point, just to echo it, in your 20s, because I believe in the importance of it, 20s and early 30s, like you have all this energy, all this time, use it. Use it to your advantage. Your immune system is as healthy as it's going to be, right? It's like we can train first thing in the morning and then train at night. We can like do 10 to 12 hours a day and then also like do whatever we can that night or work extra, hustle. And I found out too, something I think you'll get a kick out of is a lot of times people like we're used to working the 40 hours, the 9 to 5. Let's say that's the norm. That's just like a baseline entry everybody has. I think it's what you also do after and on weekends that is maybe not even side hustle, but that extra jobs you're taking or extra work or extra things you're working towards. That's the difference maker, right? That's what it takes to get ahead. Because everybody has 40 hours that they work, right? For somebody else or for whatever, self-employed, whatever it might be. But those extra, the 50, the 60, like 70, even 80 plus, right? Those are what actually I think make the difference. We all start on a baseline. It's like, oh, you work 40 hours, I work 40 hours. Okay. But
What are you doing with
Yeah.
from the 6 p.m. to like 12 p.m.?
yeah, it's like, do you sleep because you got to get up a bit earlier? But what are you doing in that morning, like in that early like time? And I always felt too like the key is like, are you more of like a work late or a wake up early and start? Like, are you like more of a night owl or a like early morning riser kind of guy? Which do you prefer? If you had to like sit down and focus on something, do you do it first thing in the morning or late at night? Preference.
It depends on the task, I would say.
Oh, really?
It
Okay.
depends on the task.
Yeah. That's fair.
Some tasks, like, I go through it, and then I sleep on it for a day or two, and then come back for it, and then like okay, like I have
Okay.
it. I've created like a skeleton for it in my head. I'm like, okay, how I'm gonna approach this.
Yeah.
Um, if it's an email or something like, okay, just need to respond, get a response to you. That's at night. If
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I need to create something brand new, like creation stuff usually happens in the morning.
Smart.
Like just as I'm having my coffee, like as the coffee's going down,
Yeah.
is going down. Like it's like
I
okay,
love it,
like
yeah.
this is what I'm gonna do. Some upbeat music, like you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Just put yourself in that environment.
Yeah.
Um,
Smart.
but like
Yeah.
again, successful people do what they have to do, whether they feel like it or not. So
You're
I don't
right,
care.
that's the difference,
I don't care how you feel. Make yourself feel that way.
Yeah.
Find a way.
Yeah.
Coffee, music, workout to get you to that stage.
Yeah.
And as you said, like, what are you doing after 5 or 6?
Yeah.
You have 7 hours.
Big difference. Yeah.
So those
Got a
7
bunch of time.
So those 7 hours are probably worth like 3-4 months if you
Yeah.
add them like 3.
Thank you. Yeah, and that compounds to your point earlier. Yeah. Oh man, it's genius, right? But I found starting right away, and like I've even moved like at the hours where I have to meet certain hours. I used to start at 9, and now I bumped them to have me start as early as I could, which is 8. So then it's like, okay, I'll get up, sometimes train, sometimes not, depending on what the schedule says.
You're a morning person.
Yeah.
I see you post like at 6 a.m.
Ever since we moved, like the class changed, like the scheduled time changed. So it's like sometimes we wake up in the morning to lift at like 5:36, right? I found it, so everything that I personally, right, you could be different, honey, but there's everything I don't like about going somewhere or being out and about doesn't happen between 5 and 6 a.m. Traffic's not bad. Lights aren't red. Nobody's going too fast or too slow in front or behind me. Like, music's always good. It's just they're just playing music because there's no like ads because nobody's on listening to the radio. It's great. They're just playing music. It's cruising, you know. Nothing's too busy. No, you're not waiting for anything. You got everybody's pleasant who is up. So when I go to get coffee at Tim Hortons or something, they're like, "Oh, hi, good morning, how are you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, all right, I'm good." Like, everybody's in a good mood at that time. The people that you do interact with, and the people who are getting up at that time have a purpose, right? So they're on, if not, they're on a purpose, or they're on the same mission as you, right? Which is like, oh, that's the best part. And it's like, hey, we're all like-minded, we're all locked in, we're all focused on it. So I think it's phenomenal.
But I feel like even in human nature, like if you go back like 1,000 years ago, if you look at a village, some men of the village had to protect the village during the day, and some had to do it during night.
Oh, no kidding.
And I feel that comes from that side of like, okay, like some people are better in like the morning hours. Those
interesting.
So I think about those people are like the morning warriors. Those are the people that go collect like the hunt in the morning, make sure everything is taken care for, and like the evening shifts come in. I'm like, okay.
I see you, yeah.
And also,
That's
like, it works well with me when my VAs in, like, the Philippines or Jordan or Morocco are working, like, 8 a.m. to, like, 3 p.m.
Yeah.
As soon as I'm ending my shift, they're starting their own shift.
Yeah.
So it's like, where are you and what are you trying to do?
Right.
If you have to wake up at 2 a.m., do it.
Yeah.
Whatever you have to do, just make sure you do it, but get your own sleep, get your training in, get your water in.
I love it.
Yeah.
There's when I think too, how'd you get into real estate initially, like leaving
By accident.
by accident?
Yeah.
I knew it'd be an interesting story. I was like, I gotta ask him. I gotta know. So because you had stopped doing electrical engineering at this point, correct? Or like working full time, or like how did that happen?
So currently I'm doing only consulting.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I specialize in certain fields where we go in and like optimize their operations.
Yeah.
I focus on workforce planning, so
Yes.
putting the right person, the right training in the right place at the right time.
Amazing. Yeah.
So every hospital, every retail store, everybody has service calls is on that process. So that's where I'm like, okay, how can I take it into like systemize my own process?
Yeah. Brilliant.
But when I started real estate, it was truly by accident. So during university, I was my roommate. We were sitting in one place and we were renting out. One day we get a knock, knock, knock. Who's that? It's a lawyer. We've never dealt with a lawyer. We're students.
Lawyer.
Yeah, we're like, holy shit. We're like, you guys need to evict this place. The place is getting sold. We're like, we're in the middle of semester. Like, fuck that. We're not moving. Nowhere.
Oh God, no. Yeah.
So apparently the owner of that place passed away, and her kids were in dispute of who owns what and who's gonna sell. We're like, they're like, we want to sell it. We're like, we're not moving.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, I want to sell. I don't want to sell. So we went to them and I'm like, hey, what are you selling for? Like, can we buy it?
Mm.
Back then in like 2010 or 11, it was like 350.
Like you and your roommate?
Yeah. So we had to put like 35 or 40K. I had probably like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And he had like 12. And we needed like another 15 or 20. So we went to his dad.
Amazing. Yeah.
Like I need to like 10 or 15. And he was like, yeah, sure. When do you need them by? I'm like, yesterday. Can you have it, like,
Venmo it tomorrow morning? Cause
are they in the drawer? Like,
yeah.
But he was super nice. Like he is like, I see where you guys are coming from. Like you guys are like studying hard. Like you're working hard. Just you're working in summer. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be working. He's like, just pay me in summer. I'm like,
amazing.
I'm not gonna make that 10K, but like I'll promise you, I'll pay you as much as possible.
Yeah, we can.
So he helped us out like tremendously.
Yeah.
So like, I didn't expect to like buy something like. I didn't even think about. I bought it because I'm like, we just bought time till we finish like.
Yeah, I don't want to
till
get
summer
evicted.
till we pay that guy again.
That's so funny. That's actually by accident too.
So I'm like, fuck.
Just
like,
knock on the door and all of a sudden I'm investing in a.
They knocked. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, when it's exam time, you're like, I don't want to deal with like a move
anything
or
else. Nothing.
I'm like, if unless you're bringing me food, do not knock on my door.
That's it. Yeah.
It's done.
Amazing. What?
And we still own that. Like,
come on.
Yeah.
In Toronto?
In Toronto, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What the...
My roommate is in Texas now, and he's like,
good for him, dude.
He's like, I'm like, do you want to sell? He's like, do you want the money? I'm like, keep it. I'm like, sure. We're losing a little bit on it, and during like the COVID, and it dipped a little bit.
You didn't think to sell it in that time, or
I guess that's when I'm like, hey, we're losing like a couple of grand like a year. Do you want to sell? He's like, do you need it? I'm like, no. He's just like, keep it.
Keep it.
Yeah.
Oh, sick. Okay.
So it was absolutely like accident. Yeah. And then came 2015 when I had like a couple of years of experience. I'm like, okay, I bought like all the toys I wanted, and I bought a car. Like I'm like, okay, I got out of system.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I need to like.
That's awesome.
And that's when I tore my ACL.
No.
So when I tore my ACL, that was like, okay, like I literally could be not working at any point of time. Like I couldn't go to work for like 3-4 weeks.
Jeez, yeah.
I got like benefits and all that, but I'm like, what if they didn't have benefits for me?
Yeah, you got lucky.
So what if they didn't cover my expenses with that benefits? Like it was a portion off, so I'm like, not sustainable, not a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to be making good money, but not good enough to help me if anything happens.
Yeah.
What if my other knee goes out? So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm like, okay, let me start buying. But back then I didn't know much about where and how.
Yeah.
I was living in a condo. I'm like, okay, I need to get more of this.
Right.
So I started like pre-construction.
Yeah.
So you put like 20, 40, 50 or something like that. You get it in like 5 years.
Pre-construction.
But the beauty is you don't hold a mortgage. So you just put the down payment, wait for the building to come up, and you sell it.
So you'll buy it in the pre-construction phase.
Yes.
Once it's like ready, turnkey.
Once it's built,
you
have to close on it.
I see.
You have to get a mortgage.
Yeah.
So from the time you deposit that money till the mortgage comes out, you don't have to carry a mortgage. So I was buying without carrying a mortgage. So every year I was buying from 2015 to like 2020.
Yeah. So you don't owe, but you need the upfront.
You put the upfront.
Yeah.
You don't own anything
right.
till the building is up and you close on the mortgage.
Right.
But you're usually putting a clause in the contract where you can sell before you close. So before I get a mortgage, I'm allowed to sell it.
And that's how you make the money on it.
That's how you make the money without carrying the mortgage. So I was doing it 2015, 2016, 2017,
once
2018,
a year,
multiple a year sometimes. So like one of them, we bought a whole floor from the builder. So I was literally at work, and we're like talking about the numbers. Can you send me? So literally, somebody, one of my colleagues, like, what are you buying? Like, he thought I'm buying a car. I'm like, no, I'm buying a condo. He's like, for how much? 40 to 45. And he's like, do you want to get one too? I'm like, yeah, I'll partner up with one.
No way.
So I put half of that, and then he brought his like brother and his brother's wife.
Yeah.
So we went to the building. We're like, hey, we want to like 9 units on the same floor.
Nice. Yeah, and they weren't developed yet, right?
No, not developed.
Yeah.
So we could pick any floor, any unit, and we wanted to pick a floor so we can push on, like, if we want an Airbnb, we can have our own floor of Airbnb. So you're not interrupting the neighbors. So we wanted to have like
Smart.
Single floor. That was our rule.
Not like Airbnb next to somebody living there.
Yeah, you're getting so many complaints.
Awkward.
Full floor.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
You get full floor, easier for that was the idea of it.
Smart. Yeah.
We're like, okay, let's get. So we're buying 2, 3, sometimes like 5, and it comes back down.
Yeah.
That's when I started looking outside of Toronto, like
Yeah.
London, Windsor. I'm like, man, those buildings looks completely different than the condos downtown. There's no high rise here. What is happening?
Zero.
So I'm like, okay, let's run some numbers. Let's see what's happening. So by that time, some of the condos that I bought in 2015 were closing in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Because till they're built, completed, you carry the mortgage.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, do I carry the mortgage and hold on to them, or buy duplex and triplex or fourplexes?
Right.
And 2020 is when I transitioned completely. I'm like, I don't want to even hold on to them. I held on 1 or 2. I'm like, bad idea.
Yeah.
Let me sell it before it closes, and get into like duplex, triplex, fourplex, and those kind of units.
Right.
And that was like, okay,
Yeah.
Sudbury, Cornwall, different areas, and I kept some of the condos. Like I kept one in each area. Like I have one in Toronto, one in Mississauga, one by Kipling Station. So it's like certain like hot spots in the city. I kept
see.
that.
Yeah, the ones you had in there.
Like the one in downtown, they just built the well.
Yeah.
The new.
Right.
Just in front of it.
Oh, come on!
Yeah.
Like you could see it from.
Like, it's across the street.
No kidding.
So.
Right in front.
So I usually, if I'm picking the condos, I usually pick either on the subway line.
Yeah.
On the subway line, or on like the last subway bus stop. Because I'm expecting them to expand it, so I'm usually picking on the edges of town.
Wow.
So
that's smart.
Different
Smart
strategies
approach,
between
sure.
like duplexes, triplexes, and like condos and like.
How'd you come about these strategies, or did you just kind of like figure them out because you're the problem-solving guy?
You just face it like for example, I don't buy any north-facing condos because you don't get any sun in them.
Zero. Yeah.
Like you get 2 months of the year, and they're like September, October.
Yeah, and it's not
and you
great
get, like,
sun.
This much in the room.
Yeah, like it's not a full.
So I like to get like the southeast or southwest, and those. Because I lived in those units in downtown. I'm like, okay, I want to get the fuck out of this one, and I'm never getting back. And that's how like, okay. I know the buildings who are having problems with management downtown. I know, like, because you're into the WhatsApp groups.
I guess so. Yeah.
Like this same property management is that one. They're like, okay, they're out of budget, so like, okay, shit is about to go down now. So that's where like I'm a numbers guy as well. Like I go into like, okay, give me the financial statement. Let me have a look at it. How much do you have in reserve? Like, you guys are like running on the edge. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So that's when okay. So that's experience with like living there and like.
Yeah, in the area, kind of understanding what, like, the flow of everything, what works, who to avoid, where to move, where to not go.
Which areas get the better rent.
Yeah.
What are the things that are most asked for? And that's why, like, sometimes when I come to Sudbury, I like to spend some time here. I don't like to come for, like, a day in and out and, like...
Do you have one property, or you say you have a few? A couple?
Few properties.
Yeah, makes sense, yeah.
So if there's nothing vacant... my trip is usually shorter.
Yeah, makes sense.
If my trip is...
Pick the coldest week to come up. Brutal. Nice. Yeah. Okay. So, when you kind of come up, what's the... I I guess what I'm asking is, you go to each different, like, you kind of babysit them, right? You oversee them. You don't. Sorry, you don't have to babysit them, but you oversee them, right? When it comes to picking, like, very very important, picking like team network and stuff like that, people you work with, what kind of, do you have like a mental checklist of everybody that you have in like the network that you kind of go through, or what does that look like for people you work with in that sense? It could be from top down, like consultants or people who buy, or lawyers or whatever, to like people who take, you know, realtors and stuff.
It's a hard question. How do you pick people? You have to trust them. Trust is the first thing. Like, I have to trust you because I don't know what you're capable of. I know what I'm capable of.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But the people I work with, I think what I look for is we're one team here.
Yeah.
And like, I need to help you to help me.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't communicate together that well, like, if there's no communication, I'm gonna have like, I'm okay like if you're confrontational. If you tell me, hey, this is gonna work, I tell you no, it's not gonna work, and you tell me it's gonna work, and you convince me, I'm okay with it. I need people to but when that communication is dead, okay, I'm like, either you're too busy, or you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because if somebody knows what they're doing, they're gonna be like, I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
I'm gonna expect 1, 2, 3 from you.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Easy. Yeah.
I know exactly what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But if somebody goes in and is like, let me have a look, it's taking me a couple of days, and then like two weeks later, hey man, like, any updates? I'm like, I'm still looking at it, and then like you get it in like 1 a.m. I'm like, dude,
you're like,
okay, I need faster responses.
yeah.
So I like people like in any sport too. Like if you're playing basketball, like you want to play with people that pass the ball as often and not like dribble across the court and like shoot it.
Yeah,
even if you're the best scorer.
Yeah.
I want to pass. So that's where like my engineering skills come in. It's like there's almost like 32 trades in real estate.
Really?
At least I would say.
So many, huh?
From lawyers to accountants to realtors to contractors to electrician to plumber to to each specific trade, and then you're the person that's in the middle. So how do you collect the information that he gave you and he gave you and he gave you, and put it together and send it to that person? And how do you make it visible for these two but not those three? And if you keep asking for the same question, can I give you something that you just have to refresh and take it off of my plate? Perfect, done. And then you could come back, hey, can we change this and change that and change this and change that? I love it because that's how I'm improving my system. But if you go and like, I never hear from you, I'm not getting any feedback, I'm not improving, you're not improving, I don't know why. Even if you have the best coordination with us on the system, but I want communication.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, and you can't develop that trust, as you're referring to, which being the key, without the communication at all, right? The open lines and the understanding.
And like slowly you build that trust. Like,
for sure.
The first 5 times it's gonna be like, hey, can you change this, change that, change this, change that? And then I'm gonna be like, hey, the next deal's here. When can you get it back to me? It's faster, it's smoother, it's and that's what I like to build. Like I want to keep it consistent. If I'm working with the same person, we keep that relationship. Let's push it. Another thing I like to focus on is the equity part. So if I'm working with you, I always like to offer, if, hey, this is a project, if you want to be part of it, we'll pay you all your cost. But if for your labor, you want to take it as equity,
sweat it out.
I'm absolutely happy with that.
Interesting.
Because I'm paying you the same. I want to pay you more with equity than I'm paying you with labor. Because now you're as invested with me in the project.
Right.
And I can use that money I would have paid you into putting it to the next one. So it's a win-win for me and you. Unless you say, hey, Hani, I want the money now. Or I want X amount of money now, and put the rest for me in equity.
Sure.
Or, hey, I really need the money in the next 2 years. I don't want that.
Right.
Or I'm not interested in that building. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So
for
I
sure.
always leave the option open.
Oh, interesting.
And it's so funny. Like you might be like, hey, I'm not interested, but my wife is. And like, hey, I'm not interested, but like my friend is. Or hey, let me talk to this guy. Show him you know what I mean? Because when I work, I like I'm an open book. Like if I can't open my book to you 100%, like what I'm like.
Yeah, and you also part of you, I'm sure, expects that same in return, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Like what I work on, like, and like they see it across the line. Like so, if the investors want to see what did the plumber say when he went there and what pictures he took,
Right.
they can go in and like have a look.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But if they want to just see there was a plumbing issue and just walk by, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And that gives confidence. Like if I can give you all the information,
Yeah, great.
read whatever you want.
Yeah. Switching gears, and we can circle back to the consulting stuff that I'm priming you for later by asking or by mentioning that now. But I will want to ask about the transition into consulting shortly. But switching gears, because I'm really curious before I forget. You climbed Mount Kilimanjaro recently, yeah? Well, last year, right?
2023, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. 2 years ago, yeah. I guess now 2 years ago.
2025, yeah.
Yeah, damn.
Like last year, 22
Yeah,
years ago.
I
Yeah,
thought it was
almost 2 years.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So talk to me, kind of like the initial idea, because that's gonna be my that's one I really want to do, and I didn't know anybody who did it until I saw you do it, and was like, I know somebody who's done it now. I need to ask. So, as a personal, selfish question, tell me about that journey.
Why I did it?
Yeah, initial idea to.
I definitely was not planning to do it. All my friends were like, they started a group chat and they're like,
Yeah.
hey, we started to book, and I'm like, oh man, I'm getting this FOMO. Like they're gonna go have so much fun.
Yeah.
I didn't, because I hiked so much in Vancouver, so I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not craving a hike, but I'm craving a vacation.
I get you, yeah.
So everybody was
I
going.
love it.
So remember that I came in with a vacation mentality. I'm like, I need a vacation right now. So everybody was like, yeah, let's book. Cool. Okay, what do we need to prep? They're like, yeah, we need to prep everything. I'm like, define everything. They're like,
what does this
camping
mean?
gear, like backpacks. I'm like, that's easy. Like we're going camping.
Yeah,
fun.
say less.
It's easy. And then like 2 weeks before, we're like, prepare yourself. Like there's gonna be like -15. I'm like, -15. I'm going to Africa. It should be like +13.
What do you mean
Yeah.
-15?
So as I'm going closer to like, and that's booked and everything. I'm like, oh man,
Like, I'm already committed. Financially here. What are we?
So I'm like, oh man, like
man.
it is a trek. Like it was
so
not
funny.
a vacation. So I even booked like 4 or 5 days after. I'm like, oh, I'll go
Yeah.
explore the city and like be a tourist. I was sore as fuck for like 4 days after. I couldn't move. I'm like,
I didn't get the vacation I wanted, and then it ruined the next 4 days back in town.
But it's such an experience because when I think about doing something, I think about it. Is it safe? And does it impedes with my values? If not, I'm gonna do it. Because
smart.
With Kilimanjaro, like one of the things I learned about myself, and I'm pretty sure it's like similar with other stuff that other hard things that you do, is you always find an excuse not to.
Yeah.
You're like,
That's a
fuck,
good point.
why would I do it? I could go on a nice vacation in like Thailand.
Yeah.
Like, why am I doing it? Like, I can still back out. Like, I can still back out. Why am I doing it? But what you get on the other side is when you tell yourself self-promise and you go through with it and you find whatever reason to go through it and finish it. Yeah. That's the satisfaction you get. Plus, you get the views and you get like the
mountains are great.
The experience and all that. But I think that push, because it's hectic. Like, your jacket becomes heavy. Your hat becomes too tight. Your gloves are too wet. Your socks are like too tight. Your shoelace is like, why is it so tight on one shoe?
Everything's irritating.
Yeah, it's like why, but it's like, and that's what the guys help you with.
Right.
They keep telling you pole, which means one step over the other.
What do they say?
Pole.
Pole.
Like one slowly.
What language is that?
I'm not sure. I want to say, but
I'm not sure.
South. I think they have multiple accents. I'm like.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
I don't want to see a certain area.
Sure. Yeah, it might
like,
not be.
It might be a tribal lingo or
Butting heads. Yeah, for sure. Okay, interesting. How long of a adventure was it? A couple weeks.
We did it in 7 days.
animals.
But I think you can do it in like 4 or 5.
Yeah, but you're saying what I'm hearing based on like and you're like competitive, like in shape athlete, especially at the time, or like getting
I'm in shape.
like you're in shape, So for you to be like, yo, 4 days after was so I'm hearing book 10 days for it, like for that like recovery on your quads and stuff on the body, or
if I would do it again, like maybe I would do the mountain and then I'll book like a safari trip.
oh smart, something to like
Chill. You can like ride a car
it's
and like
still there in that area.
you're driving around. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like
You see zebras and stuff.
Yeah, you see a lot, but you don't see like the National Geographic. Like you don't see a tiger like catching something. I'm like, yo, we didn't catch nothing today. They're like, what are you expecting?
There were no lion attacks, no lions jumping on elephants. We missed everything.
But it was a pretty cool experience.
Nice.
Would I do it again? Definitely not. Definitely.
One of those, Yeah, I love it.
It was hard.
Yeah.
Like it's like weight cutting for like 7 days in a row.
Yeah.
You're like, why am I doing this every single day?
Yeah. No thanks, man. Oh, that's awesome. Definitely sounds like a once in a lifetime type like adventure for sure.
Once in a lifetime, yes, for sure. Like
Yeah.
I've seen, there were people down there like in their 60s. I'm like, good
Wow.
for you.
Oh my.
It's definitely a good challenge,
Yeah.
a safe one, and
It's challenging though. Like it's not.
It is a
does-
challenge,
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense.
like you're in the first couple of days it's not, but once you get to the altitude and
Oh,
once you get
true.
to like, because the altitude, you're like this water bottle, like your brain is like every step, and you're like, okay, like
That's
how
the
long,
sickness part of it.
and you're like, how long is this walk? And they're like, oh, it's around the corner.
Yeah.
And you go to the corner, and like that corner, and like that
Yeah.
corner is that corner.
You can't even see the corner they're
There's
referring
no
to
corner.
and shit. Yeah.
It's a mountain.
There's no corner. It's up.
So, but that mentality
Yeah.
is very similar to training jiu-jitsu. Sometimes when we
Yes.
train jiu-jitsu, our coach would tell us 1 more minute, and then like 3 minutes later, it's like one more minute. I'm
Last
like,
roll.
Last roll. I'm like, that was like 4 rolls ago. Like,
You already said this.
Yeah.
A couple times.
but like that mentality, like you're not sure how long is it gonna take, or like,
Yeah.
is the day ending? Are we ending the day in an hour, or is it gonna be another 3 hours walk?
Yeah.
There's no maps. There's nothing.
No kidding, eh? Yeah,
Like
sure.
the guide,
You don't know.
the guides will be like, this way. I'm like, I need to ask another. I need to get another
Can we phone
opinion.
a friend?
here.
Yeah, can I get a second opinion on it? Oh, that's so funny. Oh my goodness, man. Oh, that's awesome.
Definitely a pretty cool experience.
Yeah.
So once we were done, I booked like the next 4 days. I went to like see the waterfalls.
Nice. Oh, no way.
I was so happy to see the waterfalls. I like as soon as I got there, took my shirt off, jumped in the water,
Yeah.
and like the guide with me is like, "Hani, get out of the water. That's like the village water they drink from." I'm like, "Oh shit! Like you shouldn't be supposed to be." But then like 20 people came in. I'm like, okay, like it's not bad. Like,
You're like, get over it. That's awesome.
but
Oh, man.
pretty
So-
cool experience.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you sharing that with me. Did you, kind of skipping back to what I wanted to ask you, how did you switch out of like full-time work engineering to consulting in that field still?
Mhm.
Like what was that? Because that's going from like you working for somebody else, correct? Like in a firm or something like that in Toronto to now you're working for yourself, right? Or for like a consulting agency?
No,
Well,
for myself.
Yeah. So what? Yeah. So what was that like? Because that's a bit more of like now I got to do business as well as also consulting. Like take me through kind of what that was like.
So when I started in with one project. So I was a full timer. I started with one project.
Yeah.
But I think in what made that move or transition easier is taking initiative.
Oh, smart. Yeah. Okay.
If you take initiative in the business you're in, and you're willing to put time to learn new parts of the business, learn new tools in the business, help other parts in the business,
Yeah.
then you're gonna find opportunities in this niche.
Oh. Okay.
So what I'm trying to say is, it didn't like it didn't. I didn't like. Oh, I'm gonna start my consulting business. I'm gonna stop here.
Yeah.
It's like one company get, hey, I need you to do this project. I heard you do it for that person. And I'm like, okay, we can do the same thing. So for me, it's like, oh, I just need to refresh the data, change a few things, and then and then, and then I'm like, hey guys, you guys can fix this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Can I? Can you give me access to it?
Yeah.
They're like, is it related to this one? I'm like, yeah, maybe. They're like, yeah, here you go.
Sick.
I opened it, create a new reporting. I'm like, hey, you guys, here you go.
I'm
They're
not
like,
kidding.
oh, can you? Oh, that's a great idea. Can you add those two things to it, or can you change that? And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, yeah, no problem, and do that. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, can we do this? That's it. Can we add that? And that's how you slowly expand. You're like, okay, I can help workforce planning. I can help loss prevention. I can help operations. I can help finance. I can help HR with their stuff.
Mm.
So any data you give me is like, okay, who are the people that need it the most,
Yeah.
and how can I help them? What's important to them?
Smart. That's a good approach. Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, I went to and created a company and I started marketing. It's like, who can I help?
Mm.
Who can I help in my current job?
And that was your initial like
Yeah.
question for yourself.
Who can I help? Like I was sitting there and like everybody leaves at 5. Everybody has like 2 kids and a dog. I'm like, fuck. Like my training starts at 7, so I have 2 more hours here.
You got a couple hours.
So
Yeah.
what am I
can we
going to do?
I love it.
So like I'll try. Hey, what are you working on? Like what's the problem? Okay, if you had the chance to fix it, what would you do? And they would give you the answer. Okay, sounds good. If you had a dashboard that would present numbers for you, what would you want to see on it? Oh, I want to see my mortgage divided by principal or interest. I want to see my taxes. I want to see my insurance. I want to. Oh, you know what? I want to see them broken down by month and month over month.
Yeah.
Can you add a filter? And then like it builds up. But if you do the bare minimum, it's never gonna be enough to get out of it.
Right.
You have to be like proactive. I'm not gonna say a perfectionist because
It doesn't really
doesn't
exist.
exist.
Yeah.
But proactively reaching out, trying to perfect the process. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
So let's work together. How can I improve you to improve me to speed up the process?
Right. Like overall, you want that like maintain the quality or improve upon it in a quicker time.
In a quicker time.
Yeah, for sure.
So my goal is like, how can I make you do your job in less time?
Right.
If I have more time on my hands.
Yeah.
And then like slowly it builds up and like, so I think that is like that mentality is like having it all the time. Like, if I'm shoveling the snow for us, I'll ask the guys, hey, can you ask the neighbor if he needs any help?
Mm-hmm.
It's another $50.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, being proactive. Okay, how can we help not us, but around us if it doesn't impede us in a negative way?
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
So I don't know if I answered the question.
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure.
It's not
being
hard.
proactive, taking
Just be
initiative.
proactive.
Yeah.
You're on site. You finish a job. You see something else is broken. If you have time, you have the tools, fix it.
Yeah.
Take a picture. Boom, done.
Easy.
But that proactiveness, you're gonna be on top of it every time. Your manager or the senior, like, oh, I can depend on this person.
I see.
This is my person.
There's a
This is
bigger
my
picture
person.
to it.
This is my person. You bring the solution to them. Hey,
Yeah.
I saw that. I fixed it. Here's the solution. Just to let you know.
Yeah. Brilliant.
You're my guy.
Yeah.
And that's like, that's a mentality you need to have. It's not like one button you press.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, as I said at the beginning, it doesn't make sense what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I helping that? Why am I helping? Why? But the dots will connect once you're done.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because there's been a quote that I can't ever put my finger on who, because it's cycled back through different people, but life can only be said, and I guess even just parts of life can only be like in general, if we're generalizing it, life can only be understood looking backwards, but can only,
I think that's the one.
but can only be lived going forwards.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's like once you're done, you look back and you go, oh, I get it.
I get it.
Right? Like the choices you made are the dots, and that you see how they kind of connect. You're like, oh, okay. Like you said.
One of the hardest questions I've ever had was, why am I training jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
No reason.
Zero.
Why would you go in the most peaceful time of your day to fight people?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no reason. But
Yeah.
I didn't learn it till I started graduated and started traveling more, and I started making money. I'm like, okay, I can travel now.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, okay, I'm in that city. I can go to their gym.
Mm.
Boom, new friends.
New
Hey,
friends, yeah.
come with
New,
us.
new
We're
techniques.
watching the fights tonight. We're going out.
Epic.
I'm in the city in like two weeks, and I'm like already have group friends and like, going out and like move to a new city.
Yeah.
Boom, go to the gym. 2 weeks later, consistent going. People get recognize you. Okay,
Yeah.
you have a new group. So it's like it didn't make sense till after I finished. I'm not finished, but like
Yeah.
after you get like the bigger picture.
For sure.
Like after it adds up in your.
Yeah, once you start going around, you're seeing everybody, and you're like, you're starting to get some experience in life and stuff, and you're like, oh.
It opens a lot of doors too.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been countless, because you're, like, you've been doing it for, how long you been doing it for? At least 10 years. Or
Started
close.
2009. So coming up on 17 and 16.
Yeah. Wow.
16 years, yeah.
Dude, that's incredible, yeah.
But I'm not consistent. I'm not the most perfect. Like
For sure, yeah.
Like when I had my surgery, I took like a year and a half off.
Right.
I should not have, but looking into, but then it's like, it was a good break away, so that I came back more motivated.
Yeah, you want it more when you're not there.
Yeah.
It's weird. I'm like, I'm just itching. And I find I do better having a week off and then going back, because I'm like hungry now. I'm like, just everything, let's eat, right? And then after, like, you do 4 days in a row and you're like, oh, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Can't do this, but I'm going to. And then you just get beat up a bit easier, or like it takes a lot more energy, and at least for me. And then I'm like, oh man, because this happened the other day, because I've been go, and then I was like, ooh, why am I tired all of a sudden? And then people are getting me with moves, and I'm like, I probably shouldn't have let them get them. They shouldn't have hit that on me, you know. But otherwise, yeah, it's not too.
How long you been training? You've been training.
Man, I started in Ottawa. I trained there for about 4 months, and then I had like the same thing, like 8 months off, moved to Sudbury for work and love and stuff, and then went and was like, what was it? And then I started at Troop right away in October of 2018. So
6.
yeah,
7.
it'll be 7 in October plus 3 months. But the 3 months in Ottawa, I was consistent as it gets. Like I was like 5 times a week. Monday, Tuesday, or it was Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because man, as you can imagine, like I was in the end of my program at school in Ottawa, and it was just everything was school, and I needed, like, as you said earlier, the gym just wasn't enough, right? I'm like, I can't, because I could still be reached, I'm still at school. I'm like, I need something that's completely separate that nobody in my program does. Nobody knows what I'm doing. Nobody knows where I'm going. And you just escape for like 2 hours, and it was like, as you know better than most, it's like it's the perfect escape.
I think jiu-jitsu is more of a therapy than a sport.
1,000%. 1,000%. And it's both. But it's more, it is definitely more therapy.
Like sometimes I like have a rough week and I'll just go to Toronto BJJ just because like the blue mounts, like it's just like, okay. Like,
it's relaxing.
It's not relaxing. It's like you're wired up, but like it takes you away from everything.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
You forget about everything. And then like at the end of the training, I'm like, oh man, here's my phone. I look at it, there's 50 messages. I'm like, oh no, never mind.
You're like,
I go back.
I can get another. Coach, you got 6 minutes, prof. Yeah.
One more round. Oh, okay, I'll go one more round.
One more round, and then one more round, and it's last round. No, man, that's awesome. Yeah, there's something to be said for it, man. I have friends who legitimately told me they would have like committed suicide in some facet, right? Or like even in a looser sense of like drink themselves to non coming back from state, and they're like, if it weren't for like training, like they just like between the work and like what their job was and like how physically and like the demanding of it and the pressures of it, they would have been like, they would crack. So it's cool to see how how therapeutic it can be to some people.
I definitely see in people, it took them out of depression and took them out of anxiety.
Incredible.
And they're not black, or like they're like blue, a couple of stripes, white, but that feeling that you're a part of that community, that I'm gonna try to take your head off. I'm gonna try to kill you.
Yes.
Till you tap.
1,000%.
But that's where I'm gonna take care of you till that, like, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know I'm gonna take care of you. I'm not gonna do something stupid or like injure you in a way that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's like, it takes a lot of people into like And now we live in a world where like we're decentralized.
Yes, yeah, very much so.
Everybody's like, even when you go out, like everybody's on their phone.
Yeah.
You talk to people like they're answering you, but they're like their head is on their phone or like somewhere else.
Or you try talking to somebody while they're on their phone, and you're like, "Yo, wait, it's just me and you in this place. You can hear me. I can see you."
So this is the only place where you cannot do that. Like you cannot be plugged anywhere else. Okay.
Yeah, and if you do, the consequences are just they're not. Dude, if
you're
you're on your
out.
phone when fucking like prof is talking or something, like no matter who your professor is, where you are, man, you know. Or even around me, you know, if like a white belt comes in, or they're sitting, or they're like grabbing their phone, they're on in the corner when we're all rolling. Like, I'm gonna attack this person.
You're on the hit list now.
You're on the hit list now for sure. Oh, it's wild. It's cool to see though. It's cool to see. So I'm happy you still like I imagine you've been doing it a lot longer. You'll probably like you'll never stop. You'll go until you can't.
Like I don't think about it like like I take it day by day.
You just go.
I'm gonna go today. Like I don't even remember how long I've been training till somebody asks me.
Yeah, and you're like, I actually have to think about it.
As long as I keep it a routine,
smart,
as a habit.
Yes.
I'm showing up.
Yeah. So that's
I'm
more
there.
than what
I'm there.
everybody does.
I'm there.
Yeah.
Even if I do 2-3 rounds, I'm not feeling like let me push it. I'll do one round and I'll get out. Sometimes I'll go to the parking lot. I'm like, fuck, I feel like shit. I'll just leave. But I'll make the effort to make it to at least as much as I can.
Smart.
So I don't push it beside like above. So, some people are like I go in with whether or like sometimes like today I'm gonna take a chill a little bit. Instead of the gym, I'm just gonna go for a walk. So you have to balance like your time, especially like as a consultant, where you're like you own your time. Nobody tells you, okay, you need to do this, that.
Yeah.
And you want to do it in a way where you're not shot the next day. You're not. You can't even like walk to the desk or like.
Yeah.
And I used to do that. Like I used to train so much. I'm like, at work, I'm like, I'm gonna eat my lunch here because I'm gonna be limping all over lunch in the lunchroom. So it's like, I should not have done that to that extent. But
so
that was in my 20s.
back when we had the the 20-hour days. Excuse me, that were sustainable. Kind of shifting back to the real estate. There's a question I just came up with. I'm curious about. What do you believe is the best way to like? I don't want to say quickest, but because it's just such a trigger. What's the best way you believe to make good money in real estate, or get in like initial foot in the door for like building an investment portfolio?
You asked 2 questions here.
Right. Pick one. Yeah, or both actually, both. Because I understand. I'm trying to find to asking that one, the second one there.
So what's your question again?
So, question is, what's the best way to get a foot in the door, for building an investment portfolio? And then I'll ask the other one after the first one, because there's a better way I could ask it.
You're paid based on the problem you're solving. You can get in with 30-40. Your return is going to be equivalent to that amount of you're putting in. If you're taking a bigger problem, your return is going to be bigger. So what kind of problem are you willing to take on? How big of a problem are you willing to take on? Are you willing to take on foundation, roof, plumbing? What kind of problems are you willing to take on while you be safe? The other part is, if you know somebody who's doing it and you trust that person, partner up with them. Because every niche is separate. Like condos are completely different than duplex and triplex. Completely different than multifamily. Like when we started our multifamily, we ran so many problems. Never thought about them. Example. In a duplex, you get 3 pieces of appliances. 4 with a microwave. When you have a 10-unit building, there's 40 pieces of appliances coming in one shot.
Yeah.
Where the fuck were they gonna put them?
Huh.
I never thought about that in a duplex or triplex. in
That
a
makes
duplex
sense.
in traffic, just put them in front, in the garage, in the,
Yeah.
in the hallway,
Yeah, somewhere.
anywhere, in one of the rooms. When you have 40 pieces.
Yeah.
So the problem changes.
I see. Yeah.
Who's doing what you want to be in,
Mhm.
and go above and beyond with that.
I see. Yeah.
That's how I work with like people. It's like, how can I work with you, and how can I go above and beyond with what I'm working on?
Mhm.
And I think that's there's no easy way. There's less risk way.
Right. Mm.
So who can mitigate your risk? And if there's a problem, who do you trust, and do you trust that person to be able to handle it?
Yeah.
That's gonna be the easiest way.
I see. Yeah.
Because if you want to do it by yourself, it's gonna take like I did it by myself for the first 10 years. It takes too long.
It takes too long. Yeah. Fair.
So I definitely recommend, like, similar with jiu-jitsu. If you want to get really good with jiu-jitsu, befriend a brown belt
Mm.
or a purple belt, a really good purple belt, and let them drill on you. Let them drill on you. Let them drill.
Yeah.
Help them out. Okay, do you need a drilling partner? I'll be your drilling partner.
Mm.
They're gonna train so many good stuff on you. You're gonna be like
Yeah.
automatically by influenced by association. And that's when like
That's a
you
good way
partner
of
up
putting
with
it.
people that like, okay,
Yeah.
I want to partner up with you because your reputation,
Right.
your work ethic, and even when I'm done working with you, or we move on, or we're working on a different project, I can be like, I worked with Glenn,
Yeah.
and people are like, oh, Glenn is reputable.
Yeah.
I respect Glenn, so I respect you in association.
Right.
So you want to work with people in
Yeah.
not shady, not people like one-time deal people. Like,
Yeah.
I want to work with people who are consistent, who are
Mhm.
willing to show up every day. And
Yeah.
okay, let's keep rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
Right. Smart.
Um,
It's a good approach. It's a really good approach. Yeah.
so did I answer the second question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You did. And then that kind of leads into like the first one I was asking too is yeah, because I definitely asked two completely different ones. The first one is because you mentioned like multifamily.
But that's good. Like your brain is like.
Yeah, I'm like, I mean, there's so many things I want to. Yeah, sometimes it's harder for me to like divide the two when I'm listening.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm listening to you, I'm like, I need to pick the next question. So I'm listening, but I'm like, okay, I got this one ready. And as I'm saying it, I get something else that takes over once I'm done listening. And now time to talk. So I'm like, damn it, yeah, mile a minute, right? But what I'm curious about, because you mentioned the condos, the multifamily, duplex, triplex, you name it. Which is your like? Which would be a good initial one to invest in if you've never done, or is it like a flip, or is it like a rental, like a two unit like duplex, or is it like which would be like the best initial one to jump into? From what you've kind of seen and how you've seen things work out, what's the initial? What's it look like? Which is the best one?
It's a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
Like one, it depends on the timing. When
I see.
Like, are you asking me 5 years ago, or are you asking me today?
It'd be today, for
Today.
sure. Today, yeah.
How much capital do I have with that? And let's say 100 grand.
Sure.
How much am I willing to risk this 100? You're not gonna lose it, but
Yeah, there's a few factors.
This 100, you're gonna pay for learnings out of that. You're gonna make mistakes with this, with that. You're gonna pay for mistakes.
Right.
So, how much of that are you? Is that like the lifeline for you and your family and your kids?
Yeah,
and
it's all your.
or is this like part side money that you're willing to, like, if I lose it,
Yeah.
or even if I don't get a return on it,
Yeah.
I'm okay to leave it like for 3-4 years,
Right.
or I need it in a year.
You're not using all your emergency money to.
No, definitely not.
I see you.
And that's when, like, okay, I want to budget XYZ for this. I want to budget for this. So I want to split my capital between a project now and probably a project in like October-ish.
That makes sense.
So it's very specific on where you are. What's your skills?
Yeah.
Where do you want to be? How long is it gonna be?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, the timing of it and everything.
But like, to answer your question, to give you an answer,
Yeah.
I think a single family, like a duplex,
Yeah.
would be duplex or triplex, would be a good option.
Mm-hmm.
Um, find a big or duplex or triplex. See if you can add a unit in there.
Mm.
You'll learn like the intricacies of like the plumbing system, the HVAC system.
Yeah.
You probably know a lot of it, but
Right.
when you're handling all the systems, when you see the problems
Yeah.
from all systems, then you're like, okay, I need this person to help me with that, this person to help me with that, this person to help me with that.
Yeah. It gets a little bit. It can get hectic.
It can, but it's a good like taste.
I see you. Yeah. Okay. It's not like 15 units all at once or 40.
Don't get if you first one
Yeah.
don't get more than 4.
Don't get more than 4
Don't
for
get
the
more
first
4.
one.
Get a primary residence,
Yeah.
primary residence
Yeah.
on 4 and under, and then once you're comfortable, get the 5+.
Huh. But live at that
Live at the 4+.
at the fourplex.
Yeah, because you
for the
can
time
claim
being.
it. I think as a primary residence,
Right. Apparently, there's like a crazy capital gains if you.
it's like 66%.
It makes no sense.
Like they're pushing
That's frustrating.
everybody out of the country. Like
It did. My Nona a couple years ago or 2 years ago I think passed away, and she had a triplex. Right, been paid off for a while. Nice triplex, two bedrooms and a basement apartment, fully refurnished. Did half the rounds with my dad. Perfect, right? It goes to her 2 kids, my dad and my uncle, and because obviously it's not their primary residence, they get to pay, and I think it's like it's over 6 figures, like it's definitely over $100,000 for capital gains tax alone, and it's like have to take out a loan for that. He's like, dude, this is our retirement, and they upped it, and we're like, what are we? It's like almost 200,000 for like, and then you have to take a loan. He's like, I thought we were done with loans with this place. Like, what's going on? It's been paid off for like decades, and then crazy. It's a frustrating thing.
But those kind of like, as you're scaling, those questions will come up.
Yeah.
Like in our contracts, like my lawyer scares the shit out of me. Like, we'll be sitting on the table and he'll be like, "Okay, this is the deal. You're doing this part. What if you pass away?" I'm like, "Who?" He's like, "You." I'm like, "Me?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I don't know." He's like, "Who's gonna like all these questions? Like, what if this person becomes incapacitated or like, unable to work or unable to perform? Like, how is what
do you got in place then?
So it's like,
What?
Is those questions? I'm like, holy fuck, like, dude, chill. Like, he's like, I'm doing my work. I'm just
Have to ask these questions.
I'm like, oh, man.
They're uncomfortable, but oh my goodness, that could be freaky. Never even thought of that.
And those are the things that like you set up like your estate planning. And, like, if this happens, then who's my kin and what do they do with it?
Right.
Who do they use and
That's a good way of putting it. Kind of moving a bit forward. You've done a lot of just kind of like quick tips. I'm curious about. You've done a lot of networking. You have a bunch of different places. You've met a lot, like countless people. I'm wondering, do you have any like quick if networking tips? Just bullet, quick form answer, like networking tips people can think of when they go. Maybe they're new in an industry or new to a city, and they want to like kind of get into the industry a bit more. They're starting at a job and they maybe want to like turn that like working job into a business. What does that look like? Like just networking tips, I mean. Like for somebody maybe in that scenario, or it's like trying to break into an industry and get more connected, something like that.
With networking, it's a tricky one because when you're networking, you're meeting people from all walks of life.
Yes, everybody.
And it's not like people are getting interviewed before getting in, and they're like in the gym. I know everybody is like kind of athletic.
Yeah.
It's like you have some sort of like, who are those, like you're walking into a room like you don't know nobody.
I see.
So how do you add value? Like whenever I talk to people, like can I help him out?
Immediately, it's like how can
that's my first, like what does this person work on and what problems could he have and how can I help him? Like, is there something I can help him?
Yeah.
And this is what I do. I can help with the 1, 2, 3, and this is what I do. I tell you what I work on, and this is what I do. And this is how people like slow. If I tell you what I'm working on, you're gonna tell me a little bit what you're working on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, nice, you're working on a duplex. What are you
Yeah.
doing with it?
Yeah.
So just being more inquisitive. People like to talk about themselves.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah.
Ask.
Yeah.
Just ask
Yeah.
and let it go.
Yeah. I love it.
And I think another point which I'm not the greatest at is the follow-ups.
I see you. Yeah.
So once you get a contact,
That does
write the
happen.
notes. Like I talked to Glenn about 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
I need to reach out to you with a message tomorrow or an email or a call
Yeah.
tomorrow, and then I'm like, let me respond to like my team before
Right.
I like, and then it's like gone. I'm like 3, 4 weeks later, I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
we met you here. I'm like, so I need to get better at that.
Yeah. Maintain that momentum.
Maintain it.
Yeah.
I'm not the best, but I think it's something I can work on for sure.
Fair.
Yeah.
I appreciate your self-awareness on that. That's interesting. I always attributed that to like talking to like growing up like younger, talking to girls. Like there was like an ultimate rule of like once you get a number you have to wait 3 days. I found out they all hate that.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, no, like we met you yesterday. Keep the momentum. What are you doing? So I found it's more of an extreme with that, but definitely like an interesting point you made about it being like, hey man, like you just met them, like keep it going, see what they're doing, you know, get involved with it.
Even when I send an email, like I usually call
Yeah.
you, like, hey, I sent you an email. Did you get it?
Mm,
Like I'm pretty sure you got it.
Yeah.
But
I could have done that when we did the invite thing. Kind of as you mentioned it, I could have been like, yeah man, I sent it. I don't think I did until you're like,
I'm like, yo,
when are we doing this thing? And I was like, I sent it, and you're like, well, I was like, yeah. Now I see, I'm like, oh, I could have done that originally. That's good advice.
So
That's good advice.
I sent an email. Hey, I sent you an email. Did you get
Yeah,
it? Yeah, I got it, but I didn't open it. Can you open it? I want to show you something quick.
yeah. Oh, smart.
Answer your questions right there, right then.
I'm gonna start doing that. Like it's like follow up on, hey, email sign. I do that with some people, just not. I'm not consistent with that though. That's weird.
Yeah.
So do you better do it. Yeah, that's weird, you know.
As long as you know it and you're like, okay.
Yeah, you're like
I
actively.
need to do it. I need to do it. I need to do it.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good way of looking at it. Did you have any? So as Hani, we kind of like close everything. I think we want to talk about today. Do you have any like final like closing thing you want to say, message that maybe we didn't touch on, or like a quote, anything you want to say to kind of like conclude or wrap up the episode of things we talked about, or even just like a lesson you want to share before we roll the red carpet for you?
No, thank you for having me. Pleasure for jumping on your podcast.
Yeah, of course. Where can people find you? Where can you connect? All that fun stuff. Where can people like website handles, you name it.
Instagram is probably the best way to get hold of
Awesome.
me right now. Unless it's like you send me a consulting contract, send it via email. But like usually work is like via email.
Yeah.
Best way for people to reach me is like Instagram.
Nice. Sweet.
Yeah.
That's easy. Yeah. That's unless you have anything else to say, that's pretty much a wrap.
Keep hustling, man.
Hell yeah.
See you at the top.
I love it. Yes, sir. I
Yes.
appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much.